Hi guys, welcome back. Sports with Mono and Mono. It's July 22nd, 2019. The abbreviated version, as my partner, as we say, is on assignment. It's probably actually flying down to Dallas to touch base with Zeke Elliott, make sure he doesn't hold out, but looks like that's probably going to happen. So look forward to having Steve back with us next week. Um, lot of stuff to go over here. So I just want to first mention that our first segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. They've been with us for a while now, and we certainly do thank them for that. I think I want to open up this week with the British Open, or as it's commonly referred to as the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. I got to tell you, it was beautiful. Um, I refer to it now as the Pebble Beach of across the pond, and it's hard for me to believe that it's been 68 years since they've had it there, and I don't have any explanation for that because they did an outstanding job. So kudos to the RNA for bringing it back to Northern Ireland, and there was a lot of drama in there, and not so much the fact that it was down to the wire, but um, you got to tip your hat to Shane Lowry. The guy really just he took a nation on his shoulders, and he kept it, and it was he had some pressure from Tommy Fleetwood, who I thought was going to show up, and he certainly did, but he missed a lot of his opportunities, and you know he wins it by 5, 6 strokes. But what a great story it really was. He's a Northern Ireland guy, and his father won a Gaelic football championship for Ireland back in 1982. This was his first major, but he kept his composure the whole time, and weather conditions changed from minute to minute, and he just held it off. And there were a lot of guys that had chances. Brooks Koepka, that was Steve's pick, and it was a good pick certainly. You know, he missed some putts, but he missed like 5 or 6 putts on the final round by an inch or two. So he was right there. He's that kind of player. But I just think the storybook thing with Shane Lowry winning this thing was outstanding. And Golf Channel and NBC did a great job covering it. There was a lot of stories with what they call the troubles in Ireland, but it just was a magnificent thing. And I wasn't sure I was going to like it. The fact that they moved the PGA up in front of the British Open and so forth, but it worked out well. And I know this FedEx Cup thing is a big deal now. So, but it really was a great story and just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful scenic golf course. And PGA really did it this time. So I know it's not going to be 68 years before they have it there again, because it really delivered on it, and it was great to be able to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and watch live golf from the Open. It just was a great all around overall success as far as I can see from a fan's perspective. So they all did a great job on that. So FedEx Cup is next, right? That's it for the majors, but FedEx Cup, it gets pretty exciting too. So looking forward to that. It starts in I guess a week or two. It's gotten better as far as I can see. It gives a lot of different guys a chance to get in the limelight and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that. So been a great golf season, and this will be the end of it with the FedEx Cup and so forth. But you know, I just can't say enough about this Shane Lowry, and I couldn't be happier for him. He's a nice kid, and it was just a great job. And gonna miss golf being over almost so early. It's not even August yet, and all the majors are done. But that's how it goes. So I just want to move on a little bit to Major League Baseball. Now, yesterday was the Hall of Fame induction, and it was great. I still have to say this, as great as Mariano Rivera is and was, and there's no denying that at all. Best relief pitcher in the history of the game, but it still sticks in my craw a little bit that he's so far been the only unanimous player elected into the Hall of Fame. And to me, that just doesn't make sense when you have the Babe Ruths and the Lou Gehrigs and the Ty Cobbs and the Ted Williams and the Willie Mazes and uh, you know who voted against them, or who decided to leave them off their ballot. I know times have changed a little bit, but these were the foundation of Major League Baseball, and it doesn't diminish the fact that Mo gets in unanimously, because he certainly did deserve it, but that just means those other guys I just mentioned before certainly deserve to be there unanimously. Tom Severs, all of these guys. So it didn't diminish it, but it certainly puts it into perspective about some of these sports writers, and maybe they held grudges against Babe Ruth because he ate hot dogs or whatever, but um, it really was. And the Roy Halladay's widow, that was a great speech. It was very moving. Um, I had no problem with him being there. Mussina, I still have a little debate on whether Harold Baines deserved to be in there. He was a very good player, but playing almost 20 years doesn't necessarily qualify you for the Hall of Fame. And I don't know if he had those numbers on a Willie Mays type level. But it was a nice ceremony, and Rivera had his core four there supporting him, and that was great to see. And I think obviously if we think he gets in unanimously, um, he was well liked and treated the sports reporters nice, then obviously that means Derek Jeter gets in next year unanimously. So I don't think we've seen the end of this unanimous election to the Hall of Fame, and I still honestly believe it has a lot to do with the reporters and so forth and the relationship they have. But tip your hat to Mo and the other guys that got in it, Mike Mussina. Congratulations to them. It was a nice ceremony. It was a nice day up there in Cooperstown, and very happy for those guys. One question, and it's not a question, but it's an observation, and I think we touched on this, and it really is something it's perplexing to even understand what the debate is about this netting. Another foul ball, another hurt kid into the hospital. I do not understand what is taking so long for these Major League Baseball teams to put netting down to the foul pole. It's mind-boggling to me. Why hasn't the league stepped up and said, do it? Even if we had to shut down Major League Baseball for 2 days, put up the netting. I mean, how ridiculous is it that in the NFL they have netting behind the goalpost so the football doesn't go in there when a field goal or an extra point goes through? I mean, is somebody going to get hurt with a football? But this is a real problem in Major League Baseball, and it just needs to be addressed. Manfred needs to step up and say, put it in tomorrow, because somebody's already gotten hurt, and many people have gotten hurt. It just needs to be done. End of story, end of commentary. It's just common sense, and I hope Major League Baseball takes that necessary step and makes that happen now, not tomorrow. So in Major League Baseball, we're coming up on the trade deadline, and there's a lot of big names out there, Baumgartner and so forth, and they're making quite a run at it right now. Best record in baseball over the past, I guess, 3-4 weeks. Obviously, they played the Mets and took care of business out there, but that's a good question, whether or not it's time to unload him when you're making a run? I don't know. I mean, I know they're considering it. I don't know if he's happy in San Francisco anymore, but that's one of the people that you have to say, he could be on the move here. And we've talked about it a few times with the Mets, whether or not Syndergaard, and Syndergaard's he's a nice talent, but his ERA is like 4.5, and I don't know if he's somebody that you want to unload some of your young talent to get. But if you want to make a pennant run and so forth, maybe he'll step up. But like the Yankees, they could use another pitcher. Happ sometimes, comes to the ballpark and shuts you down, and sometimes he doesn't. Paxton yesterday, same kind of thing. But they do have a lot of young talent that they could offer up for a run to make this happen. I mean, obviously, offense isn't the question for New York, but it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of moves, a lot of uniform changes for some big names in baseball, and let's see what happens with that. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing who ends up where and how it impacts the standings and the stretch run in Major League Baseball. It should be good. So listen, we'll move on, and our next segment is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, obviously a loyal supporter of our show. And as always, we thank our sponsors immensely. So getting very excited. It's getting close to college football season, and it's literally right around the corner. And saw a couple of things. Harbaugh making some comments about Urban Meyer, and again, my position, I think it's been pretty clear. Until Jim Harbaugh starts winning games, he shouldn't be making any comments about Urban Meyer, Ohio State, anything. And, maybe Urban Meyer leaving the Big Ten, he sees as an opportunity for Michigan to kind of take over the lead in the Big Ten. But Ryan Day is no slouch, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of diminishing returns from Ohio State. They still got a great football team, and until Michigan knocks them off, I still consider them the favorite. I know they lost Haskins and so forth, but it should be interesting. And listen, we know who the real players are, right? We know Clemson and their Heisman Trophy candidate, Trevor Lawrence. They're going to be there. They'll probably be undefeated. And Alabama, again, although I mentioned on the last show, I think Georgia has a real good team, and I'm a big fan of Jake Fromm. I think this might be his year to step up and give Georgia a run. Like I said, we both, Steve and I both like Kirby Smart a lot, and Alabama's Alabama. They have probably the leading Heisman candidate in Tua. So they're going to be there. Those are the teams. I'm not sure I see any big surprises, but as far as the Heisman Trophy goes, those are the guys. Tua and Trevor Lawrence got to be the two favorites going in. I do like this kid Ehlinger from Texas too. He's been a real good player for them. They may be on the way back a little bit. But I will bring up a guy that I think is probably going to lead the nation in rushing. He's a Jersey kid, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. Keep an eye out for him. And he was brought up by one of our listeners, Kenny Backer, not too long ago, 2 seasons ago, and he says keep an eye on this guy, and he has not disappointed. So he's got a good shot at finishing and at least getting the invite to the Downtown Athletic Club for the finalist. I think that's the only running back I think that has a chance to knock off either Lawrence or Tua as far as the Heisman Trophy goes. So it should be exciting to watch. Can't wait. College football is just awesome. And I think Steve and I maybe disagreed a little bit. I think this is a make or break year for Brian Kelly. We talked about it a little bit, but He's had a lot of good teams. They need to get over the hump. They do play a tough schedule, but I think this is a make or break for Brian Kelly this year at Notre Dame. Um, I do like their chances. They are stocked and loaded and ready to go and so forth. So, but can they compete? Can they beat a Clemson? Can they beat an Alabama? That remains to be seen. But we're going to see because it's going to happen sooner than later. So, um, real quick, I just wanted to bring up, and again, as you guys know, we're tennis guys, we're golf guys, we're football guys, we're baseball guys on this show. We don't really talk a lot about boxing, and the reason we don't talk about boxing because I just don't think there's that level of talent that it used to be from the 70s or the 80s and so forth. But there was a very interesting comeback story. The Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao, uh, fought this guy Keith Thurman the other night, and boy, he really took it to him. Even Thurman says this guy's still got a lot left. So I think that was a big surprise. It was kind of one of the reasons I'm not crazy about boxing anymore because it just, the scoring system in boxing sometimes doesn't make sense to me. He mopped the canvas with this guy, and it came down to a split decision. So something is always stunk in the game of boxing, but 40 years old, big comeback. I'm not sure who's out there that could take him on. But they'll find somebody, and I don't know how much he has. Maybe Thurman was overrated, or Pacquiao, what he still has left at 40, was underrated. That remains to be seen. But it really was a big surprise, and he really took it to this guy. It was pretty cool to see. But like I said, I don't watch boxing. I don't care for the UFC. I think that's just barbaric. And but Pacquiao at 40. Taking it to that guy, it was pretty fun to see. I know the one guy that I do like in boxing, and even my daughter brought him up to me, was Lomachenko. I think he's pound for pound one of the better fighters in the game right now. There's not a lot of talent, certainly in the heavyweight division. I don't know that there's anybody out there that is worthy of consideration in the Foreman, Frazier, Norton, Ali era kind of thing, when the heavyweight division was spectacular. I don't see that anymore in boxing. But when you get a good story like that, Pacquiao, it was great to see. It really was. So listen, as far as, I was kind of joking, but the NFL training camp starts, rookies report this week. A lot of buzz in New York about this Daniel Jones pick. A lot of people are still saying, I don't understand it. Number 6 pick in the draft. Whatever. I like the pick. I like what the Giants have done. I like that they got rid of Beckham. I know he's a real good talent. He's probably going to have a great year under Mayfield and Kitchens in Cleveland. But I just hope the Giant fans give this kid a shot. I just hope they don't dismiss him. No rookie rarely comes off the bench is in his first year in the NFL and produces to any level. But he certainly is the heir apparent to Eli Manning, and we're looking forward to it. Again, a lot of this stuff going on with. I was kind of joking about Steve going to Dallas, but I could see Zeke holding out, and now Julio Jones in Atlanta, he wants money, and how long is it going to be before Amari Cooper says, I want my money? But these guys are under contract, and it really is, it gnaws at me that these guys can hold out and these teams succumb. I hope they don't do it. I hope they make these guys honor their contracts and then pay them when they're ready. The whole Le'Veon Bell thing disgusted me, and this guy hasn't shown up to any camp and so forth, but this is the Jets. That's what they got. He's probably going to have a good year. He's still got some talent, but that's not the kind of guy you want on your team. And I still feel the same way I did before. But it's exciting. And the NFL preseason, again, there's still a lot of talk going on out there about whether they should stick with 4 preseason games. And to be quite honest, I say no. I say at least knock it down to 3. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody plays. None of the vets play in the 4th game anyway. So the roster should be set by that time. But I don't know if that's going to happen. NFL collective bargaining agreement is not too far in the distant future, so I think that's going to be something that happens. But a lot of good things, a lot of good new season, new slate for things. Can Pittsburgh bounce back? Will Cleveland be the team everyone thinks they're going to be because they have all of this talent now? Looking forward to it. It should be a great season, but you have same guys. You have Russell Wilson and these guys that show up year after year, so they'll always be there. But it's great to see. Training camp is great. I'd love to see them play 3 games rather than 4 preseason games, get the season underway. And as Steve and I mentioned the last time, high school football is right around the corner too, and that's exciting for us. We enjoy it just as much as we do college football in the NFL. Certainly around here, and some of the powerhouse teams across the United States. It's California, it's Texas, it's Florida, and now DC has a lot of teams in the top preseason high school polls from Pennsylvania and DC area. The talent in high school football has gotten better and better every year, and the local talent in New Jersey is as good as it's ever been, and looking forward to seeing that too. It's just exciting, good times for sports fans, and look forward to having Steve back with us next week. And again, before we sign off, we'd like to acknowledge another one of our sponsors, D. Filippi Bakery of Monticello, New York. They've been our newest sponsor, but they're just as important to us as our other sponsors. And if you're in the area, stop in, get 10% off your entire order, and the bakery goods are just phenomenal there. So thanks. And again, normally we give a shout out to one of our loyal listeners, and we're going to get back to that next week, but I really want to emphasize that my shout out is to Shane Lowry. It was just amazing, the fact that he maintained his composure with the pressure that he was facing and so forth, and it was acknowledged by guys like Graham McDowell, who was just as articulate as could be in his interview. The whole Irish thing, it was unfortunate McIlroy got off to a shaky start in the British Open, but I really do want to acknowledge and shout out to Shane Lowry, because he did an amazing job to have an entire country pulling for you, and he did not disappoint. So congratulations, Shane, and hopefully it's not your last major, because it was really great to see. So thanks everybody for joining us. A little shorter show this week, and Steve will be back with us next week, and our show's nothing without him. So come on back next week. We'll see you then. Enjoy what goes on in the week of sports, and we'll certainly recap it for you next week. Thanks, and we'll catch up soon. Bye.